Mr. Pete here. This is lighting and rendering class, and we're moving along. Week 12. We're going to talk about our base lighting, and I'm going to show you my scene as we have so far. It looks pretty good. I'm going to just briefly talk and highlight on some of the textures I have already in the scene. And this is should be the same way that you should be designing your environments, is that you want to do it in broad strokes. I teach this as a main concept in everything that I do, because broad strokes really helps in terms of having placeholders. And then after you have these placeholders, if you realize that you're going to see these things a little bit more, then you can invest a little more time on getting higher quality assets, whether creating it or finding them. So I'm just going to show you what I have so far. I have this ground plane. It's grass, basic. I have, just to show you the grass, I was using base color 0.8, specularity of 0.3, roughness of 1. That's more or less all I did. It's a standard surface. For the road is also has a pretty low spec, 0.3, and a roughness of 0.3, so that way it spreads the specularity. The base color is 0.8, and I attached a map to it. To show you those textures, this is what I have. I pulled this from one of the sites. It's a DSS file. Can't open it, but that's what it looks like as a thumbnail. Then I have the palm tree, which also was something I found online, and then this grass green texture was I found online. So this is the palm day. It's a 3ds file that I pulled off from one of the free sites. CG Trader's pretty good, and there's some other ones. So as you can see, I just have one date tree here, and I'm going to copy that eventually, but for now I just have one. I need probably a sidewalk and maybe some cars and some street signs. Again, I'm not totally sure how I'm going to bring some of those things in. For sure, the signposts and things like that will be CG, but it's quite possible that the cars could be imported in other ways. If you notice too, I have this other file. It's a PNG of people, and I'm probably going to place them depending on the shots that I'm going to have, place them in different ways on the sidewalk and so on and so forth. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, this one probably won't be on the sidewalk, but again, it's also possible to use CG characters and put those in. It just means the rendering will be longer. All right, so I'm going to use HDR as my base light, and then from there we'll have another video in terms of how to highlight some of this scene based on the shots, and that's really how you're going to light your scene, is based on the camera position. So first off, though, I'm going to go to the Arnold settings, and so this is where the environment can be plugged in. So open environment settings. I'm going to pick an environment map. It's going to be a bitmap, and this is the part where it can be a little challenging. I want to show you what I have for my background. This is the background that I'm going to try to place this building into. Now, as you can see, there's going to be a number of challenges. The first thing is that the road doesn't match. The second thing is that this is quite a long shot, so I'm going to have to crop part of this image to match a little bit better. But that being said, I need an HDR that also matches this general environment. In HDR Haven, we can search by category, nature, and then I clicked on mountains. And there's a bunch here. The closest I'd say would be one of these because of the blues. So I'm going to pull one of these and put those into the background under the HDR settings. There's a couple of other backgrounds too, and I would also encourage you to have other backgrounds. Here's one in the desert. It's hard to find long shots to put as backgrounds, but I figure this could be good. Again, you don't have to do it this way, but if you have a sky dome you want to put in and that works better for you and you want everything to be entirely CG, that's totally fine, but I'm going to show you a different way that you can use, compositing, Photoshop, to put in your backgrounds. So there's my sunrise. It's 2K. Of course, 4K is going to be a little bit better, but I'm just going to save my render times by keeping it a little bit lower. So there it is. There's the map, and we can change the EV in the exposure value here. So 6 is okay for now, and we can also change the background. So I'm going to close out of that, and then you can see that we have a custom color for the background source. Right now it's set to scene environment. So as you can see, the colors from the HDR is coming through quite nicely on this. The grass is very grainy. That needs a little bit more work, but for the most part, I think this is going pretty well. I'm going to go and change the settings a little bit. I'm going to cancel this. It's going to take about a minute for this resolution. But I'm going to change it from the scene environment for background to a custom color of black, because again I'm going to see how it's going to look if I take it into Photoshop, how it could look better. Going to under common, I do want to remind you that you could also keep your quality down. So right now I have HD TV 320 by 180. Again, the smaller the better, faster it'll render. Just hard to see though. So as you see, it rendered in 4 seconds over 50 versus 53 seconds on the higher res. So definitely something to think about. So there you have it. Just want to do something simple to show you. Again, you'll start to put your scene together, and I'm just going to highlight on some of these things because we are going to be taking our camera into different spots. So that being said, we can zoom in and have a shot like this. That's a close-up, and then we could have people walking on the sidewalk, and then for other shots we could have something that's more like this, where we see the entire building and see a lot of the sky. So then you'll need to think about how to outfit some of these spots in terms of what other things we could see. So it's possible that this could be, I don't know, a garage. So there could be a car here, there could be a car on the road waiting, and so on and so forth. If you are going to shoot down like this is going to be problematic because there's not going to be a lot of buildings around it, so that's a little tricky. Although, right now there's not a lot of buildings in this scene to go from, and I don't know, the render times will continue to increase. So that's definitely something to think about as you are moving forward. Again, that's all I wanted to cover, just basic lighting with HDR, and continue to assemble your scenes. Professor Pete, I'm out. Keep learning.